Good afternoon, reading room. How are you? I made chicken last night. It's delish. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are here in the reading room on day 185. April 24th is the date. I'm bothered by the fact that I know that one of the ways that they're just making me look stupid is through my videos. And it is bothering me. It bothers me because you try and do something good and these, administrators with third grade senses of humor go and throw out desperate people to go and do what? I don't know, build an atomic bomb, make them desperate and then use their brains. I don't know, make pornography, see if they get addicted to that. I don't know, work in a pharmaceutical company, making billions of dollars, and then possibly suffer the loss of all those millions of dollars. The same normal Simon Bar sinister stuff that we've been seeing from that Nazi party for I don't even know how long. What's going on here? Why don't we wrap this business up? We didn't even sign a peace treaty, which means we don't even believe that war ended. Oh, what was that? It sort of didn't. We read the last time, and I had a lot to say about R. Scott Appleby. I really did like that a lot. I had a lot to say and a lot of agreement with Appleby, and thought that Appleby had said it in a really very, very calm, nice words, nice tone. Not usually the tone I use. You know why? Because it doesn't get across. I mean, seriously, what am I doing here with a PhD and all this? What was that, Janice? Dan McNevin, born March 23rd, 1959, is a Stanford graduate and partner in a San Francisco real estate investment firm. All sounds sketchy to me, right? Stanford had the Stanford prison experiment, and he's a real estate investor. That's just a 3-card Monty guy. As an area leader and media spokesperson for SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. From 2003 to 2007, he served during the litigation wave that swept California's Catholic diocese and resulted in hundreds of cases and financial settlements of over $1 billion. Oh, that's the reason why the Nazis hate California. This legal process provided an unparalleled documentation of the church's abuse crisis. Well, I hope that wasn't just the single piece of evidence sitting hanging out there. I mean, they've talked about it a lot, but let's see what he has to say. I grew up in the Oakland Diocese. Oh, I grew old in Oakland County. There was a law passed in 2002 in California that allowed victims of sexual abuse of any ilk, Boy Scouts, public school kids, a year to bring a suit against the entity overseeing the abuser, in this case the church, as long as they could show that the entity knew or should have known about the perpetrator and did not take action. The impetus for that law came from the crisis that occurred in Boston in 2002. The sex abuse crisis has been going on in the Catholic Church for decades. Some would say centuries. Oh, well, nice of you to give him a year. I'd been abused in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Ed had a couple of my brothers. There are 4 boys in my family. We're Irish Catholic. We had a very strong connection to the church. I hadn't ever repressed what happened. I just didn't want to deal with it. This priest, Father Clark, was a part of our family, basically a parish priest. I think Clark's hope was that one of us would become a priest. My parents didn't necessarily support that. They weren't hardcore Catholics. I became an altar boy, and at that time, I didn't think of what Clark was doing as being criminal. I look back and I realize now it's what's called grooming. These priests, these guys who are predators, will actually spend a lot of time preparing a child to be sexually abused. In this case, he would touch me affectionately like my uncle would touch me, so it was harmless in my mind, and I was at an age where I couldn't discern. There was nobody watching him because we were in the vestry of the church, so he had unfettered access to his altar boys as a result of his place of influence and power within the church, and implied trust that went from everybody to him because of who he was. He would encourage the altar boys to take off our clothes as a part of getting ready for Mass. He would pat our backs or pat our butts and tease us. He was preparing us. We were from a relatively poor working class family, so we kids would work around town to earn money. I progressed from being an altar boy to being offered a job by Clark to work in his house. My older brother had the job first, so I knew it was lucrative. This priest, who is now dead, began by paying me $2 an hour to sit next to me $10, $15, $20 for showing up, whether it was for an hour or 4 hours. In this predatory system, these priests know how to use gifts or money to get close to their victims. It's what they use to create loyalty, and they also try to create shame in order to keep the crimes quiet. Now, 11 or 12 years old, I was just beginning to form as a man. I was developing muscles and growing pubic hair. Clark became interested in my body. He would come home sometimes drunk, and before he'd pay me, he'd demand me to take off part of my clothing. Saying no to a person who has been presented as a direct contact to God and a part of your community is not fathomable. I can't remember taking off my shirt and his touching my chest. I felt creepy. It didn't feel right, but I didn't know what to do. Also, the money was so much that I wanted to put up with whatever I had to within reason. My younger brother was going to work for him also, but I didn't connect those dots until later. There was a psychology that seemed to prevent us from talking about this stuff. We didn't compare notes. This guy was one of the most constant adults in my life. I had a familiarity with him for better or for worse. At some point, he tried to masturbate me. He said, "Take off your pants now," so I did, and he actually jerked down my underwear and began to touch me. At that point, I just couldn't take what he was doing. I'm in the minority. Most kids don't know how to stop these guys. I was an independent kid, and I said, "This can't be right. This is wrong." He stopped and said, "Son, you're right. This is wrong. If I ever do that again, I want you to punch me in the stomach. In fact, I want you to punch me right now." I couldn't punch this guy. He was my priest. I'd been getting more and more uncomfortable and conflicted about going there, money or no money, work or no work. I mean, I felt guilty for not going because I was supposed to answer the phone in case somebody died and call him so that he'd go administer the last rites. So I had sort of the moral issues of having been entrusted with that job. And then there was my relationship with him and the money. Having to put up with this physical violation was creating this internal strife because I had these other things that I wanted to be doing, which I felt I had to do. But when he did that, I put an end to it. I said, "This is wrong," and I stopped. At that moment, I quit everything. I quit being an altar boy. I quit going to church. I went home and told my father I'm not going back there. My dad said, "Okay." He has always respected independence, and as we got older, he respected our independent decisions. That was one of them that clearly he didn't ask why, not that I would have told him. I have no idea if I would have told him had he pressed. I know he would have taken action because I had to stop him from taking action when I was older and told him what happened. I shut it down. I stuck it in a part of my mind I didn't access often, and I tried to forget. I didn't appreciate then the kind of emotional cancer that it was. I went on with my life. I just didn't go to church, and I didn't deal with this guy. He called once in a while, angry that I wouldn't come to the house. I refused to go. He called drunk at times and demanded that he needed me there, and I wouldn't go. My younger brother might have gone once or twice, and didn't like it. He described later on what was really abuse and many kinds of abuse. Only my older brother was an altar boy with me, so we were subjected to the most grooming. The younger ones didn't become altar boys. They noticed something in my behavior and took it as a cue, which is really fortunate. But one of my younger brothers did go and work, and Clark made the same efforts with him. It didn't get as far with him. He got a lot further with my oldest brother. That's really the essence of why I felt compelled to, as an adult, speak out. I didn't know then that had happened to my older brother, but I have since discovered some of what did. When I was 20, I got a call from my father saying, "Your brother has been in an accident. You've got to come to the hospital." My older brother had cut his hand off intentionally. He was in intensive care. The reason I told my father about the abuse I suffered was because the priest came to my brother's hospital room. Clark walked in, and even though my brother was catatonic, he'd become dangerously agitated. His heart rate went through the roof, and he began to hyperventilate. That night, my younger brother told me about my injured brother's reaction to the priest's visit. It occurred to me that what happened to me also had happened to him. It came to me like a bolt of lightning, so I went to see my father and told him how I'd been molested because I wanted to help all of us understand what had happened and perhaps help my brother. I remember having to get a hold of my father to stop him from leaving the hospital because I was afraid he was going to kill this priest. I went to see a counselor at college and described to him what happened to me as a kid. He told me I'd been sexually molested. Until much later in my life, when I went to therapy and explained the effects of this abuse, I didn't really understand how abuse affected intimacy. All I knew was I didn't like the church or authority figures. In 2002, reading about what happened in Boston, it erupted emotionally. The legislature in California opened a time window to sue responsible parties, and I felt if I don't pursue this, I'm not really going to feel closure. I contacted a really compassionate woman at the diocese, Barbara Flannery, the nun who was the chancellor. She was the most powerful woman in terms of her hierarchical position in California's Catholic community. I sent her an email saying, "I want to talk to you about sexual abuse that happened to me when I was a kid." I knew that when I went to see these people, it would be difficult. It was like walking into the oppressive power, the office of the bishop. I really wanted to give my brother some help. After he cut off his hand, he never really could return to work. He eventually began bouncing around a series of halfway houses. He needed to be heavily medicated even to function at a marginal level. My father was chasing him all over the state, trying to find and protect him. After my dad found him in a psychiatric hospital, he drove him back to Northern California and arranged for his permanent disability and found an institution with some caring people running it, and my brother has been there since. I asked the chancellor, "Have you heard of Clark? Has the Oakland Diocese shuffled priests? And will you help my brother?" She said, "We believe what you say happened to you. We haven't heard of this priest abusing children. In this diocese, we don't shuffle priests. And if we can arrive at a way to corroborate what you said, we'll call the insurance companies and find a way to help your family." My brother severed his hand. He stopped communicating with everyone. When my brother severed his hand, he stopped communicating with everyone. I was sitting with him one day when he was in hospital and implored, "Talk to me." And he said, "If your hand deceives you, cut it off." It is in the Bible. If your eye deceives you, gouge it out. And then he stuck a fork in his eye. I was able to grab the fork and pull his hand out before he did any permanent damage. I called the nurses, and it was quite a scene. Have you ever dealt with a schizophrenic disabled person? The guys on the street who walk around and talk to themselves. My brother could be that guy. It is the same sort of post-traumatic behavior seen on the streets, only he is in a better place now. He is well supported and he takes his medication. He is also a very kind, good guy, and he is really smart. One day he said, actually, I did get touched. He touched me on the chest. That opened the door to his truth, but we haven't gotten the full story from him. We only have parts of the story, and the parts we have are terrible. I knew that he had been sexually molested, but I didn't know exactly what happened. I described what happened to him and to me to the chancellor. She knew that there were probably more kids in the community, and she knew that it was real. She had heard it before. These guys have a similar pattern. They groom, they find weak spots, they find families where the parents don't go to church and therefore are not watching. Or they do go to church and therefore they're subject. And CC didn't allow the parents, Catholic Central didn't allow the parents around. I really found that disheartening. And I found ways to get there anyway. It was really, there were really some, but again, to me, it was Universal Studios at work trying to traumatize people into acting. But here also is a complete setup, right? What did the priest do? He touched his chest. Well, is that why you were so? Or is it because somebody told you that's how priests groom, and then that gets you agitated? You begin to look for those signs and symbols, and that anger really builds up. See, this is the thing. They're providing narratives over here that may or may not be true. I don't have evidence for those narratives. And so you can't react to those narratives because they're just narratives. You haven't seen, you don't have any evidence. Oh, you mean a priest touched a boy's chest? And what'd you do? Right? In retaliation, you punched him in the stomach, which was by priest's invitation, right? That was by that priest's invitation. It's all under the cover of darkness, isn't it? All of this is under the cover of darkness. There is usually drinking involved, and she also knew some things I didn't know. I felt like we were headed in the right direction and that the church was going to work out something for my brother. I had done all that I could, and that was kind of the way that I would find closure. About 6 months later, I was reading the newspaper and saw that a priest was at trial from my own town. This kid was victimized. They moved him numerous times. That's when I knew I'd been lied to. So I decided to open up my case. So all of this distraction, and I even remember this at a time, and it's like, you don't, a year to open up those memories and then find all those facts, that's just bullshit. That's just complete and utter bullshit is what that is. Just like my numbers over there. Big goose egg. That's bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, did they give Travis a present where I had some views, where people saw their mother? They're all watching me. And my boys know. They know this setup. You think they don't know. You think that that's the setup. You don't know shit. I don't know shit. I know what I teach. Got content there. Content up the wazoo. From other content, sometimes. That's not a teacher. You're not a teacher. Phony degree. You just read other people's stuff. Yeah, and then I fucking teach it. Grow up. Insanity seekers. That's your title, you Nazi freaks. Insanity seekers. Where was I? Oh, back to the liars. We filed papers, hired an investigator, and found another victim of this same priest, a kid whose family I knew. The lawyer wrote to the diocese and said, "You offer to resolve this significant damage if another victim came forward, and we'd like to meet with you about settling this out of court." The diocese ignored me. We found another victim, same pattern, different age group. We leaped the hurdles to try to settle this informally without filing a lawsuit, and the church ignored us. The part of me that has power became simply incensed. I said, "Fuck this. Let's sue them, then force out the truth." When I filed suit, I filed it as a John Doe. As a John Doe, I was getting attacked in the press by people accusing me of wanting money. They were saying that the priest was a great and a beautiful man. I wanted to challenge these people to attack me in my name if they had the courage. I had my lawyer call the local press. I wanted to put a human face on this particular priest scandal because the process of media reporting serves to encourage other victims to find the courage to speak up. That's how I came out. I crossed the line and said, "Let's take this on the chin." The next article came out, naming me, and another victim came forward. We shut down the critics. As our trial approached, we went through a significant discovery process and deposition preparation. We demanded under oath that the diocese disclose any known sex crimes, convictions, and accusations related to Clark. And you want Lucy, shh. Okay, good girl. No more. Hey, no more. Sit down in your basket. And this is what the judges are allowing with the pharmaceutical companies. No different. Except for we're drugging our victims first so that they don't have a memory. Who are they doing that for? Sheriffs? Who are you doing it for? It surfaced that he'd already been arrested and convicted of a sex crime before he ever came to our church. Clark had been arrested, and the bishop had direct knowledge of the arrest at the time of the arrest. Most of the people I know who are sexually abused by priests are damaged, and I am damaged too. I've been blessed with a strong family, a good mind, and a resilient spirit. Even then, when I was a kid, I stopped it. There is a level of esteem that I have for myself that a lot of other survivors don't seem to have because they feel as if they invited or caused the abuse to happen. People say to them, "Why didn't you stop it?" Those questions just add insult to an already terrible injury. Of course it does. Of course it does. There are different personalities. Some of them are able to speak up and speak out like I am. And despite McLaren, I have no sexual abuse charges. I have charges that they brought me there unlawfully. But I have no sexual abuse charges. I have no memory of anything like that going on over there. And they made sure of that. They made sure I didn't have a memory to see if I would make a false claim, like somehow I had been making these false claims, right? Which I have not been. I'm asking for evidence. That's for GD, sure, you bunch of lazy sons of bitches. Find some evidence. Evidence. Look it up. And then, oh no, because why? You know where the fucking evidence is. It's in your files that you seal for 60, 70 years. You're pathetic. You scientists are pathetic. In the name of science, you have that right. Fuck you. Because you think what? You're going to destroy spirituality? and the belief system in 60 or 70 years, and then they're going to look upon that as just science in what? In preparation for a superior motherfucking race? As they sit over there and annihilate people who actually have superior intelligence? Fuck you. Fuck you and your infallibility. Oh, what? Did Sinead O'Connor say that? What? All those Boston Irish Catholics with Sinead O'Connor can't lift a dick over there to say anything about those priests. Well, there's a man for you. Now there's a real man for you. Nobody asked you to fight in that fucking war. You built those wars. We didn't. Liars. Oh, our women didn't look on us as men. Bullshit. We wanted you taking care of our kids with us. Bookless Classroom. It's on right before this. Are those my two faces? Waiter at Bonefish. It was a waitress. That's my joke. Yeah, why didn't you stop it? We have all kinds of personalities, and that really is the grooming of kids. So you could deteriorate their self-esteem at a very early age, making them unable to say something. And you could do that by very early sexual abuse. I'm smiling because I'm wondering, I always wondered about my niece, and it probably was just simply colic. But you know, you do have to wonder about these things. I mean, my nightmare about a white rhino? Seriously? Seriously? And now I'm finding what? Drugs in my drink that I'm calling heroin? They didn't anticipate I wasn't an addict, which does have some DNA that they've been able to manipulate in your brain and your body, so you're fucked if you're taking their prescription medications. Now, what were we talking about? And why don't people stop it? I spoke up the first time it happened, and I got angry responses from that Nick Bondier, whatever his last name is. Probably some Bondi over there. I don't know, but that would be my guess if you're allowing that to happen to good women and teachers. You sons of bitches, you. I spoke up, and what did I get? I practically got I think I did get kicked out of Smoke Street. I'm like, you're all in on it. So you're all in on it. At least I know. And that's why I kept revisiting the place. Come on, MFers. Let's see who's in on it. 100%. We're rounding you up. 100%. 100%. The cover-up, the behavior, the reaction by the parishioners, all these things resonate in surprising ways. Not if they're Nazis. I have met such good people in this process, survivors as well as practicing Catholics who want to change the system from within. I don't believe in Jesus or God. Small G. He doesn't. Maybe he believes in a big G God. I don't go to church, and I can't. I'm not comfortable with any situation where somebody is guiding or influencing another person's behavior. Not even for real good, not even for good. I mean, I know that's the whole claim, and so you can't even look at good or even the Bible without suspicious eyes. That's the bitch of them. That's the sinister bitch of those C word. If I were Pope for 1 year in connection with what I know about the sex abuse crisis, I'd go on a world tour, and in every country, I'd implore anyone who's been victimized to tell their stories. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a destruction of the Catholic Church, but if the Catholic Church is so destroyed that they really are Scientology, something entirely different, or maybe they were just hijacked by Scientology, right? And all those sons of bitches who want to get in those saints' tombs over there, right? We spent a lot of time on that one chapter. That was wonderful. Other than your brother. And I will say, let me tell you something. I've seen Bill Maher do a scene where his hand looks like it had been cut off, where he's moving his hand. Now, media-wise, somebody could show that in reality and then cover that up. But I saw that, and I think I showed it to my husband. It may have even been after I read this, because people are giving me secret signals. Boop, 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 boop. Me and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, so this is Dan McNevin. We spent a lot of time on that, and boy, I hope I've read it before. This isn't the first time, right? I'm reading it, and I remember when I was going to start my classroom, I knew I was going to start with these, and these were the voices that I wanted to get out. And so I hope I did your voice justice, Dan. Thank you so much for that. From our book, Being Catholic Now, 37 Excerpts from Catholics by Kerry Kennedy. Thanks so much for this awesome work. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are here with our 4 days off. On day 185, we are exiting that and entering our 4 days off. That is our lovely lesson, isn't it? That's what makes the classroom really worth its while for anyone to join. And look, it's really enjoy. I look forward to Smart List. I wish that they had more of them, and all they're talking to is actors about things. Wish they had more. I think this has got a lot of meat to it, and I think I've got a lot of followers who agree with me, despite that stupid goose egg. Day 185, we keep plowing through, don't we? Thanks to Chris Stapleton for that wonderful song that I didn't see got knocked with the copyright. It probably will. I'll have to figure it out, especially since I did not record that. Oh, can you believe it? No, I can't, because I've been really good at this. April 24th, the day after my son's birthday. So I hope you had a great celebration. I love you, sons of mine. And this is Dr. Annette Feravich, who is a teacher, a psychologist, a woman, a spiritual person, a widow. So I really do have a lot of things that I think I can connect with the underdog with, including being 1/4 Mexican. Thanks for joining me. I got the heart of all people. I think I do. I've always thought that, though. I think highly of myself. Thanks.